Hey everyone, I thought I would make a video to give you a couple of hints on some of the problems from this 12.3 worksheet that you were assigned. So it's problems on the back side, so I'm just going to scroll down to the back of the worksheet, and I'm going to start with number 16. So if you feel like you would like help with number 16, please keep watching. If not, fast forward to see what other ones I might talk about. But what I want to show you is how you can deal with when your terms are out of order. So normally we would have the n squared term first and the 64 term second. So when that happens, I think a really good way to deal with this is just to rewrite it in proper order, in standard form. The n squared would go first, but it is a negative n squared, and then the 64 would go second, and that's plus 64. So now let's work through simplifying the problem. We can see that there's subtraction involved, so that's our hint that we're going to factor everything we could factor and then see what might cancel. So first, how can we factor a 2n minus 16? There is a GCF of 2, so we're going to factor out a 2. That's going to leave us with n minus 8. Now, this denominator is now negative n squared plus 64. If your leading term is negative, you want to have a negative GCF that you can factor out. In this case, the negative GCF would just be a negative 1. And if you factor a negative 1 out of both of those terms, that's going to leave you with a positive n squared. And then 64, factor out a negative 1, leaves you with a negative 64. Now we recognize that a difference of squares is popping up, that n squared minus 64. So we're just going to factor one more time. The numerator is good, 2 times n minus 8. The denominator, we have that negative 1 that we factored out because our leading term was negative. And then difference of squares will be n plus 8 times n minus 8. Now we can look to see if we have anything in the numerator that we also have in the denominator, and we're able to cancel. So we have this n minus 8. And the only other thing is we have a 2 over a negative 1. So we'll go ahead and divide or reduce that. 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. That would just go on top. Nothing else left up there. What do we have left on the bottom? Just the n plus 8. And that's going to be our final answer on that one. Let's take a look at number 17. Again, what I'm trying to point out is how you can deal with having terms that are out of order. So this 8 minus 4x is why I want to focus on this particular problem. So when your terms are not in standard form, which means it's out of order, we're going to just rewrite it in proper order. So that, really, we want that negative 4x term first, and then that's a positive 8, so plus 8 second. Now we'll just factor it. All right, so factoring the negative 4x plus 8, there's a GCF of 4, but when your leading term is negative, make your GCF negative. That's, if we can just remember to do that, these will be fairly easy. So you factor a negative 4 out of both terms, you're left with an x, and when you factor a negative 4 out of a positive 8, it leaves you with a negative 2. Now this denominator looks like it might be a guess and check or AC grouping method, but there's a GCF of 2. So maybe I'll just factor a 2 out up here. And now it's our shortcut trinomials. So we have our 2 out front, and then do we have factors of 8 that add up to negative 6, and that's going to be a negative 2 and a negative 4. So everything is factored. Now we look to see if anything cancels or reduces. So we've got our x minus 2's that cancel. Here we have a negative 4 divided by 2. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. And then we have this x minus 4 left over, which is in the denominator, so we leave that in the denominator. And then that's as far as that one will simplify. Oh, here's another one. So again, I'm trying to show you guys a nice way to deal with if you have things out of order. So let's rewrite that so that we have the variable term first, so that negative 5r, and that positive 10 second. So we have to simplify this rational expression. We see the addition and subtraction. We've got binomials and trinomials. We're going to see what we can factor. That numerator has a GCF of 5, but your leading term is negative, so make your GCF a negative 5. That's going to leave you with your R, and then if you have a 10 and you factor out a negative 5, it leaves you with a negative 2. Our denominator, there's no GCF, it's a shortcut trinomial, so factors of negative 12 that add up to negative 4. That's going to be an R minus 6 and an R plus 2. Now we look to see if anything will cancel or reduce between the numerator and denominator. I mean, the R minus 2 and the R plus 2 look really similar, but they're not the same, so those actually do not cancel. So this is as simplified as that one is going to get. Sometimes they don't reduce and you can't simplify them. So, but we don't realize that until we get those factored. So we want to see everything factored and cancel away what will, and if nothing does, then that's just our answer. Oh, here's another one. Let's see. This is out of order, so let's rewrite it. That x squared is going to go first, but it's a negative x squared. That 49 is positive, and that goes second. We have subtraction within the fractions, so these are binomials. This is a problem we're going to factor. So in the numerator, first we look for a GCF. There's a GCF of 2, leaving us with x minus 7. In the denominator, now we're factoring this. Our leading term is negative, so we need a negative GCF. If they don't have anything else in common, then you want a negative 1. That's going to leave you with x squared minus 49. Now that we factored that negative 1 out, we recognize, well, that's a difference of squares. We can keep factoring. So we'll take that another step. We have 2 times x minus 7. And on the bottom, you have negative 1. X squared minus 49 is your difference of squares, giving us x plus 7, x minus 7. Do we have anything that will cancel or reduce? So first we see the x minus 7s. Then we notice a 2 divided by negative 1. We're getting a lot of these 2 over negative 1s. All right, 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. And then all we have left is the x plus 7 in the denominator, and that will be our final answer. All right, so both of these have that same issue. So I'm going to stop there, but I hope that that just helps give you a method to follow. I do think it's easier, and my lesson videos didn't do them this way, so that's why I wanted to make you guys another video just to show you a way to handle that. If the polynomial or the terms are out of order, put them in proper standard form. You want your variable term first, your constant term on the end, and then if your leading term is negative, you need a negative GCF to factor out, and then everything just kind of falls into place after that.